Hello, this is Chuck Ridgway, Automation Technology Manager at Horner. Thanks for joining us for another Tuesday live stream. Well, as you can tell from my familiar surroundings, I'm back off the road. For the last couple of weeks, we have been preparing for and exhibiting at the Hannover Messe USA Chicago show. The show went really well, and one of the things we got to do from the show that was really cool was last week we were able to do our live stream live from the show floor. We brought with us a custom live streaming rig that we kind of built for that purpose, and on Monday, the first day of the show, we streamed live, and we were a little concerned about bandwidth with the cellular technology for the stream. Turned out not a worry at all. We had plenty of bandwidth. That went terrific. So not only did we stream live on Monday, but we recorded that and played back the recording on Tuesday during our normal time slot. So if you haven't checked that out yet, it was about 30 minutes long and it went really well. We think there's some good information in there. I'd highly encourage you to check that out. Okay, so what do we have planned for you today? Well, let's take a look. Today, we're going to do a wrap-up of what happened in Chicago. What are we going to cover? Well, let's take a closer look. All right, so we're going to show you some show footage from Chicago in and about the conference. We're also going to share with you some of the feedback we received on some of the new products that we showed for the first time at the Hannover Chicago show. So that was really valuable to get some feedback from attendees on what they thought of the new products. Also, one of the other great things that happened during the show is that we put on a seminar on OEE. And a couple weeks before the seminar, the show folks asked if we could do a promotional video to promote the seminar. Now, in the marketing group and with myself, we're never shy about doing a fun video. So we went ahead and did that. It was 45 seconds long, a little different video than we normally do. We showed it to you a couple weeks ago, but since it's only 45 seconds long, we thought it would be fun to show it one last time. Also, I was able to conduct some interviews on the show floor with some folks from Horner you don't always get to hear from during our live stream. So that was really fun and informative. We think you'll enjoy that, including an interview with our president, Phil Horner. You know, when there's an open mic in front of Phil, you never know what's going to happen. So you're not going to want to miss that. Also, I'm going to spend a couple minutes showing you a clip from a favorite product that I discovered at the show, not in the Horner booth. So I thought it was a great product. I really wanted to share that with you. So I recorded a short clip and we'll be playing that back as well. And then finally, we have a Horner OCS giveaway that I want to detail for you. Now, this isn't a lottery. You don't have to be lucky. This is a program in which you can earn, with really a minimum of effort, you can earn a free OCS. Now, who doesn't want a free OCS? So we're going to provide you with the details of that program right before we close. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started then. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you some footage that our marketing team, Marcy and Emily, shot before and during the show. Now, for those of you who weren't in Chicago, you may not have realized that the day before the show, Sunday, it was really rainy. So part of the time they were out there getting footage, Emily was getting soaked. And to make matters worse, there was a Bears game going on. You may have seen the footage of the Bears players, you know, sliding into the end zone at the end of the game to celebrate their victory. But with all that water going on and with all that traffic, Marcy and Emily became separated, so that just made Emily more wet. But anyway, the end result was they got some terrific footage outside the show and inside the show, and I thought I would share that with you today. Let's check it out. Okay, terrific job, marketing team. Way to go. They got some great footage. I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, next we're going to talk about some of the feedback that we received from attendees on the new products that we presented or previewed at Hannover. So that's a really important part of the product release process, and that is at critical points, getting the product in front of customers or potential customers and getting their feedback. So we were able to do that during the show. Now, which products did we preview? Well, let's take a look. Okay, so the first product we previewed was the Canvas collection. Now, this is a new OCS series that we'll be releasing hopefully early next year. Now, the big deal about Canvas is a completely redesigned from scratch graphics engine. So there's going to be more advanced graphics than ever before available with Canvas. The other big deal is that Canvas uses a multi-core processor, and you'll be able to dedicate a core to Logic for some of the fastest scan rates we've ever offered in an OCS. Well, what about the feedback? What kind of feedback did we get? Well, we got several comments from customers who really thought Canvas had a nice, sleek, clean look. So if you look at the screen there, you can see that there really are only a couple models that feature function keys, and even on those models, the function keys are really, not emphasized. So got some really good comments. They thought it was a really clean look. Also, in regards to the graphics, several comments of people thinking, wow, those are really much more modernized graphics than what we're used to seeing in OCS. Everywhere from just updated available options for indicators and pilot lights to completely redesigned trend object and alarm object and recipe object. We just got a lot of great feedback saying, hey, way to go. Those graphics look really good. And I would say one of the favorite features that people really liked at the show was the ability to take a standard object that's on the screen of whatever type object it might be and change its XY position, change its physical size as it's drawn on the screen. They just could see lots of applications for that, in addition to all the other great stuff. So we got lots of great feedback on Canvas. Now, for that all-new graphics engine, it's going to take software to configure that, and Seascape 10 will be released concurrently with Canvas to provide that capability. Now, it's a little more difficult to demonstrate software in a trade show environment, but we attempted to do that as best we could. We got some really good feedback. One of the things that people liked was the ability to develop their graphics in a tab next to their Logic tab. So in other words, when they were going to make modifications to their screen, they wouldn't have to call up a graphics editor that totally took control over the entire software and then have to close that to get back to Logic. They could have multiple tabs open simultaneously and then switch quickly between editing Logic or editing screens. So that was definitely a favorite in Seascape 10 as well. Now keep in mind, we've got a lot of polishing to do over the next several months, and you're not going to see these products being released until early next year. Now, a product that's a lot more ready for prime time is OCS.io. So that product, actually, you'll be able to get that next month. And as a matter of fact, you'll see our webinar to launch that product next month as well. Now, we first showed OCS.io in Detroit back in June, and we got a lot of good feedback there, but we got even more feedback here in Chicago. Now, one of the comments that really stood out to me was one from a colleague, Robert, who basically said, hey, I love the fact that with OCS.io, I have an option for AC inputs. Now, as you all know, most control systems these days are all based around DC inputs, and that's true with OCS.io as well. However, OCS.io does offer a AC input module that you can add to the stack to give you those AC inputs. And Robert really thought that that was great because he has lots of applications for retrofits as well as for systems in which they still do have a few AC inputs to mix in with the DC input. So that was a great comment we got from Robert. Now, another product that actually is available that we showed is the Horner Solutions Group's OEE solution. And you're going to see a lot of conversation about this product later on in our interviews, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it right now. But basically, it's a tool for any manufacturer to really optimize his production efficiency. Now, what was new for the show, however, was the large screen display you see there in the back, which is basically a big screen TV that's connected over WebMI to an OCS that's showing the overall status of a production area with multiple OEE boxes, each taking data from an individual workstation. So that was new for the show, and that was well received. Now, I also mentioned earlier that we did an OEE seminar during the show, and that went really great. So the next thing we're going to cover is I'm going to go ahead and show you that little promo video we did to advertise for the OEE seminar. The marketing group put a lot of work into it. It was a lot of fun. It's only 45 seconds long. So even though the seminar's over, I thought, hey, what the heck? Let's show it one last time. All right, let's check it out. Have you been charged with improving machine utilization or production efficiency? Does this alphabet soup of acronyms just make your head spin? Ugh, you're not the only one. So come to Chicago, September 14th to Hannover Messe, USA. We're putting on a seminar that's going to help you decode this avalanche of acronyms so that you can pick out the ones that are going to help you meet your goals. You might even get promoted. That's justification right there. And if you're a machine builder or a system integrator, you can use your newfound knowledge to help your customers. You'll be a hero. Who doesn't want to be a hero? So come to Chicago, September 14th, Hannover Messe, USA. And while you're there, visit all the great exhibitors, including Horner Automation and Horner Solutions. Great job on that clip, Emily. It was a lot of fun to film. Took me a lot of takes to get all those words right. And it took a lot of work for Emily to do all those acronyms and get those floating across the screen. So just a terrific job there. Okay, so now we're to the portion of our show when I'm going to present to you a few interviews that I did on the show floor with folks from Horner that you don't get on this show very often. Some key people that you'll be interested in hearing from. Now, I do need to apologize in advance. The audio quality of my mic isn't up to snuff, but that shouldn't detract from the overall quality of the information we got from these Horner folks. Now, the first person that we're interviewing is someone that anybody who's been to Horner training should know and love. He's got a ton of Horner experience and knowledge, and he's just a really fun guy. So let's listen to this interview and let's see if you can quickly recognize who we're talking to. Here we go. Hi, this is Chuck Ridgway. We're here at the show on, is this Wednesday?
I believe so.
I believe this is Wednesday. That's right. All the days run together after a while. Well, earlier today, we did a presentation at the Solutions Theater here at Hannover Messe, where we presented our OEE solution. We actually didn't present our solution, but we did a presentation on OEE, which stands for
Overall Equipment Effectiveness.
There you go. And the reason I'm asking this guy, and well, most of you probably know this guy, this is Nate Beachy. If you've ever been to Horner training, he's the guy probably that was your trainer, at least for the beginning course, and probably was there to make me not screw up for the advanced course. But anyway, Nate is heavily involved, I believe, in our OEE solution that we're showing here in Hanover. Is that correct?
I am heavily involved. I pretty much wrote the program that's in the OEE product itself.
Outstanding. And our colleague, Tom Philippek, he has been kind of acting as a driving force in helping specify this. And between Nate and Tom, they've really been heavily involved in this over the past, several months, really, right?
Yeah, it's been a good while, and yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So this is a product that's going to be helping customers who are looking to improve their overall equipment efficiency so they can use this pre-canned solution. They can bolt it to the side of their machine. They can use it with manual workstation, right?
Manual workstations, automatic workstations, it's pretty much very flexible so that however you need to connect into a machine or have somebody push buttons to account for how much they're doing, either way, it'll do it all.
Absolutely. So the type of information you're going to get out of this is you're going to get a metric that you can use that you can use for measuring how well this workstation is being utilized from a availability and performance and quality basis, right?
Yep. Those are the three, yep.
That's right. Those all roll into one OEE metric. And then you can use that as a source of, reference for continuous improvement. Because in addition to just giving you the number, you also get detailed information on, for instance, why the equipment might not have been running when it wasn't running, right?
Right. That's based on the operator's input on why the machine went down.
Could be material, could be maintenance.
Could be any up to 20 different codes that you can actually program yourself into whatever those reasons are.
Speaking of programming, how much programming information or how much programming skill do you have to be able to use this product?
I did say programming. I didn't really mean programming so much as configuration. So there's no programming needed to use the OE solution because it's already pretty much all programmed.
Okay.
You basically configure it to the touchscreen or configure it through a configuration utility, and there really is no programming involved with it other than the configuration part.
So the types of configuration we're talking about is, how many shifts per day are we running?
Yeah, what's the shift setup? How is your part set up? Like, how often should it cycle? How does the scrapping feature work? Et cetera, et cetera. There's any number of parameters per part that can be set up for every part on how it needs to operate while the user is going through their shift.
Correct. So, and I've heard Tom say that he's worked with a couple of beta customers, and they were able, in the matter of less than a couple of hours, actually really less than an hour, really, to go ahead and set it up to the point where they could start using it and gathering data. So that's really important.
Right. Yeah. It's very easy to set up right out of the box in at least some respect. So yes, it's very easy to set up.
Now, I know that we had this at the Automate show in Detroit, and that was more or less when we were first introducing it back in June. We've had a chance to get it to the market. We are, I know we do have some improvements planned, right? I mean, in terms of, do we have anything planned for the future that you're aware of on this product?
There are certainly features that we'll add at some point. Just as customer feedback comes back, just as I myself use it, I tend to see things that, I could probably make that happen as a new feature or what have you. So,
all right,
yes,
very good.
Sure.
So this is a product that we will have ongoing development for. It's really something, if you are interested in improving your overall equipment efficiency, whether it's of a single workstation, a manual workstation, or an automated workstation, it's really something you should take a look at, because there's a lot of OE solutions out there that are perfectly reasonable in a lot of ways and very powerful, but a lot of them are very expensive, and sometimes it can take weeks or months to implement. And we try to come up with a much more kind of, boots on the ground type solution that you could get up and running quickly.
Yeah, something flexible enough to work for just about anything you can think of.
All right.
In some respect.
Terrific. Well, Nate, thanks for stopping by.
No problem.
And what was great is while I was giving the presentation today, I felt comfortable knowing if there were any difficult questions that were asked, I could just have Nate take care of it for me.
Exactly. But there were none, so.
We had good questions, don't get me wrong, but they were ones I was able to answer.
Exactly, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had, I think there were around
20.
Well, we had 3 questions, good questions, and we had about 25 people attending, right?
Oh, I think it was more than that.
Yeah, there was at least
along
25.
the lines of 30 or 40 or probably.
Yeah, so it might have been as many as 40 people watching. It's an important topic affecting a lot of people. It was fun to present the information, and we're looking forward to working with even more companies on this solution. All right, well, that's it from for this OEE update from Hanover.
Thanks, Casey, for bumping the camera.
Hey, he's taking care of a customer right now. We've got to give him a little bit of slack.
Yep.
All right, thanks again.
Okay, thanks to Nate for that interview. I apologize for the kind of robotic sound of my voice on that. I think the microphone, as I mentioned earlier, the microphone was struggling with the 2.4 gigahertz frequencies all bouncing around the show floor. And Nate's voice sounded great as well, or at least his sounded great, even though mine was a little bit robotic. Okay, so our next interview was with our R&D manager, Ken Janata. Now, certainly, you haven't seen Ken on this channel, and you might be wondering, okay, R&D manager, what does an R&D manager at a company like Horner, what do they actually do? Well, Ken does a lot of things. He wears a lot of hats. But really, one of the things he's responsible for is kind of the technical direction of our products. What microprocessors should we be using? Which display technology should we be looking at? Which wireless technology should we be testing and developing with for future products? So there's a lot that Ken does. And one fun fact with Ken is that early in his career, Ken was one of the first programmers with Seascape. So back in the late 90s and early 2000s, Ken was really one of the driving forces behind Seascape. So that's a little fun fact with Ken. And Ken stopped by the booth and was kind enough to let me ask him a few questions. Let's check that out now. Okay, Chuck Ridgway again. I'm here with Ken Janata. our R&D manager at Horner, not one of the guys you normally see out and about, at least on YouTube, but Ken's been kind enough to join us here for a couple of minutes.
Hello.
So how's it been walking around the trade show today?
Very good. It's good to see competitors and partners and changes in technology since before COVID. So.
Absolutely, lots to see, I'm
Yes,
sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. So as our R&D manager, what would you say is the biggest challenge at Horner these days facing kind of our engineering group?
The biggest challenge has been component sourcing. So keeping products flowing, so lots of testing of new components, designing modules that replace groups of other components, and then as we design new products, making sure that we've got provisions for other components going forward.
Yeah, a big challenge. And then one last quick question. So what would you say the biggest challenge was during COVID facing the engineering team, before we had all these shortages of components? What did you say the biggest challenge was there?
I think adapting to the communication. We're a multinational company, so we're already using some of the tools, but just adjusting to that and improving on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, communications was such a challenge during COVID, but we learned a lot from that, and I think we probably took some things away from that we do better now than we did before.
Absolutely.
All right, good deal. Well, thanks for joining me, Ken.
Thank you.
All right, and drive safely back to Indianapolis.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
Okay, thanks to Ken for that short interview. Another fun fact, at the plant or at headquarters, we call Ken Ken Jr. because his father, Ken Sr., was our sales and marketing manager in the mid-2000s. And he was one of my mentors for sure. And we definitely miss Ken. He's doing well in retirement. I got a chance to see him back in May when I was on the East Coast for a bike ride. Okay, for our final interview, we're going to interview with the boss himself, Phil Horner. And as I mentioned before, anytime you get an open mic in front of Phil, you never know what's going to happen. But again, I think it was a fun interview, and let's hear what Phil had to say. Okay, I'm here as Hannover Messe is coming to a close soon. I'm here with Phil Horner. So Phil, what did you think of the show this year?
Well, my legs hurt, my feet hurt, my back hurts, but it is wonderful to see the excitement of people wanting to get back into things, into technology.
In person?
And in person.
Right, that's fun. So what did you think went really well this week?
What went really well was Chuck did a presentation on OEE that got a lot of people's attention. And by the way, Tom, he was doing your job for you.
My colleague, Tom Philippek, we worked on it together. Really, Tom did a lot of the heavy lifting. Tom Philippek's really been driving the OEE type work along with Nate Beachy, who we've also interviewed this week. And I just got a chance to present the material to the group. And we had, 40 or 50 people in the crowd. It was really good. And a lot of them followed us back to check out our OEE solution here in the booth. So that was cool.
It was really cool.
That was really good. So for the next show, what are you looking forward to for the next show?
New Orleans.
That's true. We're going from one food capital to probably the bigger food capital, which is New Orleans. Etouffee, jambalaya, all that kind of good stuff, right?
Crayfish.
You bet. And speaking of crayfish and waterfowl, or I guess that wouldn't be fowl, water animals, whatever
Fish.
Those. Are they fish?
Shellfish.
Okay, shellfish. Shellfish. We used them for bait when I was a kid. We didn't eat them. But anyway, the show is WEFTech. So WEFTech, it's a water-themed show,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, and we're focused really on the solutions group. By the way, Tom, that's your responsibility, so you don't get a bailout on that one.
So hopefully our colleague Tom Philippek will be able to join us in New Orleans for that show, for WEFTech. It should be great. So looking forward to it. We're going to highlight our solutions. And remember, the solutions group are the guys that put together our OEE solution, which is all of our solutions do not require any programming per se, just configuration. They're designed to kind of be out-of-the-box type solutions. So we have some new ones to show off down at WEFTech in New Orleans.
And we have to give Louise a little bit of credit for this level monitoring
Absolutely.
that he just did on.
Exactly. So we have a level monitor. Sorry to interrupt you there. That our friend Louise, our colleague Louise, had a lot to do with. It worked really well. It's a canned level monitor and flow monitor type solution where you can just configure thresholds. It'll do alarming. It'll do emails when you have alarm conditions that occur. I got several emails this week as I was adjusting the values below the thresholds. So that was fun as well.
And there's a new product that will be out for that one, and we're not going to tell you about it until that time.
Okay, very good. We'll save something for the show for New Orleans. Okay, very good. So drive safe back to Indianapolis. And that's Mr. Phil Horner.
Thank you.
So thanks to Phil. He didn't say anything too controversial, but it was that's okay. It was still a fun interview. Basically, thanks again to Nate, Ken, and Phil for spending some time with me on the show floor. Okay, now in this next segment, I want to spend a couple minutes highlighting a show outside of the Horner, a product outside of the Horner booth that I was really impressed with. And this is a product, it actually is from a partner company of ours, but I didn't let that cloud my thinking. I was truly very impressed with this product, and I really wanted to share it with you. So I borrowed the product for a couple of minutes, shot this little video clip, and I'm going to have it here for you now. Let's take a look. This was definitely my favorite product, not in the Horner booth here at Hannover Messe. And this is from a development partner of ours, really just a partner of ours in general, that's Novus, a Brazilian company. They're not only our OCS partner in Brazil, but they've also developed a whole variety of great industrial products on their own, that some of which we've used in the States and our customers have used in the States, and they're really just great products. So this is something called Click and Go IO that I just thought was the coolest thing. So let's start with this little PID controller I have in my hand here. First of all, on the PID controller standpoint, you can see how small this guy is. 16th in cutout, really shallow, really elegant design, really nicely done. They've even got a Bluetooth interface for this PID controller. But you can add this Click and Go chassis to the back of the PID controller, and it gives you up to 8 I/O slots that you can then populate with these individual little Click and Go modules. And these individual modules offer things like, digital inputs or relay outputs or maybe analog outputs, a whole host of different options. And you can just take these individual Click and Go I/O modules and just populate the ones that you need to match your application really well. Plug them in here to this chassis, and now you've got almost a completely customized I/O combination. So I was really impressed with that from Novus. Once again, it's called Click and Go IO from Novus. Maybe someday you'll see Click and Go IO available plugged onto the back of a Horner product. Who knows? That was really a cool product, and thanks to Novus for letting me show it to you. Okay, so finally now, I want to detail a marketing program we have going on that's going to allow you to have an opportunity to actually take home a free OCS. And this is not a lottery, but it's a marketing program in which you can control the ability to earn the OCS. So let's take a look at the details now. Okay, so this is our Horner case study giveaway. So what's involved? Well, basically what's involved is you agree to spend a little bit of time with our marketing team, maybe a couple pictures, maybe some text, and describe how you're using OCS in your application. And if we can build a simple case study out of that, then effectively you'll earn a free OCS. So up to and including an XL7 Prime. So the takeaway here is, for any Horner OCS user, is freeze that frame, go ahead and scan that QR code, go to the website that the program is based on, and get the ball rolling to get your simple case study going. It's not an 8-page white paper. It's not going to take a lot of time. I highly recommend that you take advantage of it, spend the little bit of time needed to get your case study developed and to get your free OCS. Okay, so before we close, I want to remind you once again that if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost anything. And if you choose the notifications bell, then you'll be notified every time we go live or every time we post a new video. Now let's talk about next week. Next week, once again, we're going to be presenting our OEE seminar, the one we gave in Chicago in person. We're going to live stream that to you in our normal Tuesday time slot. And with any luck, my colleague Tom Philippek, the man himself, will be able to provide that to you. So once again, thanks for joining us this week for our Tuesday live stream. We look forward to seeing you next week. And until I see you again, let's all get out there and do us some good.